Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Steve again, Harmless Rebel. Decided to do another quick review, another one-step review. This time it's going to be the craft recordings. What do they call them? Small batch one-step pressings. Um, Same as the UHQR, same as the MoFi one steps. This is craft recordings version. This is their third release, their third small batch. Um, the first two, the first was Lush Life from Coltrane. The second, I can't remember the name of the album, but it's Yusuf Lateef. And I tried to get both of those, and both of them sold out in minutes. Uh, there were only 1,000 of those pressed. This time they decided to bump it up finally, and they bumped it up to 5,000. You can still get these on the Craft Recordings website, so don't pay the higher prices that are already popping up on eBay and on Discogs. So let's just kind of jump into it. This is one that's been in my on back order for me for I don't know 6 or 7 months since Analog Productions announced that they were going to be repressing the Prestige series albums. I put all of the Coltrane's, all of the Miles Davises, and all the Eric Dolphys on back order, and they've slowly been coming in. Actually, I just got these three in the other day from that same series. Uh, we've got Coltrane. I haven't spun these yet. Coltrane with Red Garland. And then Bags Grew from Miles Davis. So those have slowly been coming in. I think there's 25 mono and 25 stereo in that series. Like I said, I didn't buy all of them. Actually, I bought the John Lee Hooker. One of the John Lee Hookers from that series as well. I believe it was John Lee Hooker. Anyway, so this is one of the albums on that series I was looking forward to. And it just hadn't come in yet, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel that one. This one's a little more expensive. I think those are $40 ish for the Prestige series through Analog Productions, and this one is as a one step was 100. Like I said, these are still available, so don't buy the flipper prices. But there's some things I really love about this, and some things I don't like. As far as the album goes, this is not my favorite Miles Davis. I would say this is kind of middle of the pack for his albums. It's a little more upbeat for a name Relaxin. I expect kind of a more laid back, a more laid back jazz. This is a little bit more upbeat. Not a bad thing. I do like it. It is a great album. It just it wouldn't make my top 10 for Miles Davis's, even though it has Coltrane on here. I love the packaging of this. So they got this in this. I don't know. Is it felt? I don't know what you would call this. Kind of a vinyl lined case. Really thick, really sturdy. It was really well packed. And it's got this little insert of. Is that popping out already? No, maybe. Maybe I just need to push it down and glue it in a little bit for it to stick a little bit better. But the little inlaid, a little inlay of the album cover, which is really cool. On the back is blank, just the number, and then you've got the side there. You've got a little tab. You just pull the little tab, and it pulls the record out. It is a little tight, which has its pluses and minuses. The plus is because it's so tight, the record doesn't move around. It wasn't damaged in shipping. I saw a lot of people that bought the Eagles one steps, the first two that have been released, and because they're loose inside the box, there were seam splits on the inner sleeve. Luckily I didn't have that issue with my copies, but I know a number of people who did. It comes with a little insert. This one's a kind of a cheap insert compared to what you get from Mobile Fidelity and Analog Productions. I think they could have done something a little bit nicer than just this. There's no pictures other than of the mono master tape that they used to record this. This one, again, this is a mono pressing. This was done by Bernie Grunman from the original masters, and it was done on press at RTI on, what is it, VR 900. It's a new blend of quiet vinyl. One thing I will say, I'll get to that in a second. The jacket's really nice, a tip-on jacket. So they did a fantastic job there. I saw a lot of people complaining about the artwork because the Analog Productions, where it's shaded right here, is a little bit darker on the Analog Productions. But when I looked at some pictures of the original mono pressing, it actually looked closer to this than to the Analog Productions. So it looks like Analog Productions actually darkened it up a bit. I'm ambivalent. I don't care one way or another. One thing I will say, it does come sealed in plastic when you get it. I'm going to leave mine in plastic just for the simple fact that that sleeve is so tight. And because this is a gloss jacket, I know it's going to scratch it up pulling it in and out of there. So I'm going to leave it. That's just my 2 cents. An amazing lineup on this one. Miles Davis, Coltrane, Red Garland, Paul Chambers on bass, and Philly Joe Jones. I'm not real familiar with Philly Joe Jones, but I'm very familiar with everybody else here. Red Garland is really stand out. The piano is what stands out most to me on this album. Red Garland killed it. As far as the pressing goes, I was initially pretty disappointed. This was done by RTI, and I generally have nothing negative to say about RTI. They've done all the Analog Production stuff. All of that stuff is dead quiet. All of the Mobile Fidelity uses RTI. All of the RTI pressed albums from MoFi come out dead quiet. Most of the time they're completely spotless. Every once in a while you'll get a little bit of dust or something like that. This thing came filthy, which I have never seen from an RTI pressing. And I'm not just talking about little specks of dust, because it was covered. And a lot of it had to do with the amount of static. This thing was, I had to hit it with the Milty Zero Stat like 4 or 5 times to get rid of the static from this thing. It's ridiculous how much static there was. And look at that. Even after blowing this thing out, I don't know if you can see all the dirt that's already picked up on this thing, which means there's static on here again. So I'm going to have to get rid of this and put it into a MoFi sleeve or something, because it's pretty disappointing. And it wasn't just all the dirt that was stuck to it. There was a film. And you could see, and there were like fingerprints and stuff on it. I mean, it was, I had to wash this on my cleaning machine 2 or 3 times to get it really clean. Again, not something I've ever seen from RTI before, but pretty disappointing from that aspect. I don't know how well you can see it. Maybe you can see it there. It's semi-translucent vinyl. This is like I said, it's their VR 900 RTI Neotech VR 900 compound, and a 1-step lacquer process. The overall sound is fantastic. It does sound like a 1-step pressing. It sounds like you're in the room with the band. As a matter of fact, there's a couple spots where the trumpet distorts a little bit, and it's the trumpet. I mean, it feels like you're standing too close to the trumpet at one point. It just sounds fantastic. There's really nice separation throughout the album. The trumpet does get a little bit harsh on a few points. and that may just not have been able to be mastered out. Like I said, I haven't heard the Analog Productions version of this. Most of what I've read, people are saying that this one sounds a little bit better, or it sounds about the same. I haven't seen anybody put the Analog Productions pressing ahead of this one. So that being said, with the difference in price, the $50-$60 difference in price, I would honestly recommend just grabbing the Analog Productions copy. Like I said, I haven't heard any bad things about it. Analog Productions been hit or miss with me lately. I've been getting quite a bit from Analog Productions with pops and stuff throughout. This one had a couple of light pops in it. I have a feeling, though, with a couple more runs through the cleaning machine, and if I can get getting rid of the static off of it, it's going to sound 10 times better. Just a couple light pops, nothing major, nothing that really bugged me, which was the case with the Miles Davis UHQR kind of blue. The first two copies of that, I mean, it really took away from the sound of the album. Overall, I mean, I highly recommend this one. Grab it now, just from a collector's perspective. If you're familiar with the way prices go on UHQRs, as soon as this sells out, the prices are going to go through the roof. So get it while you can if you're into the audiophile pressings. Otherwise, I would just recommend getting on the waiting list for the Analog Productions. The nice thing about Analog Productions, you can put it on back order and they won't charge you until it actually ships. As far as the VR900 vinyl, I put it right between the noise. It's definitely quieter than the Analog Productions UHQRs. However, it's not as quiet as the Mobile Fidelity one steps. I have heard people say different things. I've heard people get them with a lot of pops and a lot of issues. Most people say that it's super quiet, though. Like I said, mine is super quiet. However, there are a few light pops here and there throughout. So that's what I got, guys. If you guys have already gotten your copy and spun it, let me know what you think. I really like it. Like I said, this is not one that I'll be pulling out all the time, but still a really killer album. And if you're into that a little more upbeat Miles Davis, I would recommend this one to you. That's it, guys. I hope everybody's good. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Later, VC.